Welcome to the CXO Vision interview with myself, Ben Leach, and Brandon Smith from ZincFive. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. Could we just start with you introducing yourself to our viewers, please?
Yeah, first off, Ben, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Brandon. I'm the VP of Global Sales and Product Development at ZincFive. We are an AI battery technology company focused on data center and short duration backup power, immediate power backup. My background is I'm an engineer by degree, but I've been in sales, business development, product development in advanced battery technology for the better part of 10 years, mainly focused on data center. So happy to be here chatting about it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'd like to start today's conversation. Well, the whole conversation, I guess, is all about AI and
Yeah.
where ZincFive fits into that. So we know the AI workloads are changing and the power is shifting massively. So we've
hmm
gone from predictable loads to very sudden high intensity demand. So how is this kind of redefining what reliable power now looks like?
Yeah. Had a lot of great conversations with the industry lately, and the industry is talking a lot about this. And it's been interesting to see how it's changed. 15, 18 months ago, we were kind of talking about this being the biggest problem to come to the electrical infrastructure, certainly the batteries, and nobody else kind of was. And now everyone understands the impact this is having. We're talking with the industry and customers who are really struggling with this day to day. So it's been interesting to watch that change. And it's certainly been interesting to watch the power demand change from what was traditionally a steady state load profile where it might shift in 5 second intervals. Batteries might be used once or twice a year, very intermittently, for not very long, to, well, batteries are now an enabling technology. If you want to run GPU workloads and parallel processing at peak performance, you need some sort of energy storage device to mitigate these dynamic workloads, as well as the ramp up and ramp down of the overall training models. So it's gone from a steady state load that everybody was used to, cookie cutter in a way, to very unique, very custom, and site to site, workload to workload, slightly different. So it's been challenging.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to just touch upon that high intensity aspect. So we know that AI dynamic power events can spike up to 15 times idle loads in mere milliseconds. So what risks do these instant surges create for traditional lead acid and lithium ion systems that were in fact never actually designed for that immediate power delivery?
Yeah, right. None of the technologies on the market today were designed for 50 millisecond, 150% power surges and designed with mitigating that in mind. And, at ZincFive, we've been testing and focused on this workload for over a year now, right? And with our BC2 AI we launched in November, we're really targeting using our chemistry to mitigate and solve this problem. It has a unique capability to do that. So we're kind of a step ahead in that regard because we saw this coming, sooner. It's not just the battery technology, though, it's the whole infrastructure, breaker designs, UPS designs, all of that. It's challenging all of the traditional designs because you're looking at 40 to 150% power surges, that's that dynamic workload, as rapidly as 50 milliseconds. And so that's quite different from, again, the steady state traditional backup of years past.
And all these things sort of link together, but why have immediate power solutions become critical, not only for protecting GPUs and workloads, but also for preventing AI-driven volatility from cascading into the utility grid?
Yeah, so if you look at ZincFive and what we do really well and what we focus on are these immediate power solution opportunities. So it's kind of the antithesis to an energy storage system, which is traditionally hours, 30 minutes to an hour to 4 hours to 8 hours. That's what we would call an energy storage device. Some people would say a long duration energy storage. So the opposite of that is a short duration energy storage or an immediate power solution. And that's where ZincFive is really, really strong. And so those applications are, again, 30 minutes and less, all the way down to milliseconds. So if we look at these AI workloads, we're talking about discharging extremely rapidly over a 50 millisecond, 100 millisecond interval And then you're talking about battery backup for the data center. So the UPS still needs a battery system to transition to a long duration device like a generator or gas turbine or another battery system that is better at those hours application. So for us, very focused on the immediate power solution. And those GPUs now require an IPS product to truly run at maximum capacity. So these workloads, they don't need a 4-hour battery to solve these 50 millisecond problems. They need something that discharges very fast, very rapidly, and very frequently over that training model duration.
Yeah, absolutely. So these high power immediate solutions that ZincFive have are great, but they must be a major technical challenge, right? So how does like nickel zinc chemistry provide the cycle life, power density, and also safety needed for these AI workloads without the thermal risks of like lithium ion?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. So we'll start with just the chemistry. So the nickel zinc chemistry is inherently capable of supporting very high power, short duration discharges. That's that immediate power that we've been really focused on for years. This is just a new use case within that IPS banner that fits really well with our product. So right out of the gate, the chemistry does this very well. And then you kind of move to, well, safety is also a concern. And if you're rapidly discharging these battery systems, you could generate heat. And for some chemistries, generating heat can be a death sentence. Maybe they don't operate at that temperature range very well, or maybe there's a certain temperature limit that's a safety concern. And some chemistries are more volatile than others. You know, no battery is inherently safe. They all store electrochemical potential. But some products like lithium and certain variants in that category have a little bit more volatility and risk when it comes to thermal, when it comes to thermal runaway, when it comes to fire risk. And nickel zinc batteries don't have that same risk when it comes to thermal runaway and fire risk. So there's benefits from the safety aspect. There's benefits when you talk about putting these batteries into high cycling, high power applications. And then there's big benefits when you talk about where these batteries are going to be positioned. You know, lithium in systems that are slightly more risky, thermal runaway, they need to be in containers with fireproofing, deflagration vents, all sorts of, building code standards to make that unit safe enough to deploy. That's not what the white space looks like. So the IT space, where all the IT gear is and these GPUs are operating, are not necessarily built for that level of fire risk. And so if you're looking at putting batteries closer to the rack, or you're looking at merging the white and black space into, say, a gray space, where batteries and IT gear are right next to each other, that's going to pose a big safety risk for some of the other chemistries, whereas nickel zinc is going to have a leg up there just because the chemistry itself does not have any inherent volatility or thermal runaway risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on the more physical aspects of that, and I want to kind of go a bit more into that, perhaps a bit more generally. So space, cost, and performance are all, of course, increasingly linked
Yeah.
and increasing in AI infrastructure. So how does the BC2 AI battery cabinet reduce footprint and total cost of ownership by combining immediate power response and reliable backup power in a one single system?
Yeah, so TCO for us, total cost of ownership, that's all the aspects that go into a battery system. So that's footprint, that's maintenance, that's sustainability, that's fire suppression and other safety related gear, all of that coupled into one, right? And if you decrease the need for fire suppression, burn rated walls, or you shrink the footprint by 20%, 50%, those are all tangible savings that make that total cost of ownership of that battery system, over a 15-year period much, much better. And so the nickel zinc solution is inherently more power dense. We are better at these immediate power solution applications like AI dynamic workloads or battery backup. And so we're going to have a smaller footprint. You can put our battery system in elevated temperature ranges. So sometimes you can reduce the cooling, reduce the footprint. So all these come into effect and add to the savings of the TCO. Now, if you look at the AI dynamic workloads closely, the way to solve this with other technologies that don't quite have that inherent high cycling, high power capability at these 50 millisecond intervals is to oversize them. So if you add more batteries, you reduce each battery's thermal and cycling impacts by spreading the wealth. if you will. And nickel zinc batteries don't necessarily need that, right? We can do this in a very compact footprint because we don't have some of these other risks. So this footprint conversation that we've been having for years in a traditional battery backup is now amplified when you're talking about solving AI workloads. So the DC2 AI, the footprint advantages over other chemistries is miles beyond what it already was, which was a huge advantage over kind of traditional battery backup.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting solution. And I want to kind of sidestep into sustainability because we all know that's becoming and is still now a very important aspect. So how does ZincFive's 25 to 50% lower life cycle carbon footprint help customers pursue AI growth while still meeting that environmental and ESG commitment?
Yeah, I talk about this a lot, right? Sustainability is integral to our business. It's not something that blows with the wind. It doesn't change with the administration. It is something we believe in, and nickel and zinc, bode well for that. They're recyclable today, much like lead acid, except we don't require it to be smelted. So we're more efficient on the backside, and we use less emissions even in the recycling process. Lithium's recycling story is a little bit more gray, I would say. There's some reuse cases out there. There's some people working on it, but it's not as clear and it's not as environmentally friendly, certainly. And then from the production of the minerals, the production of the solution, and deploying that solution, we have substantial benefits, as you mentioned, 25 to 50% lower emissions. And it's integral to us, and it's integral to a lot of our customers that we talk with. They have corporate objectives of reducing their emissions, and even certain geographies like the EU, that is built into the UK and the EU's operating procedure. Sustainability is not an option. It's, again, integral to what they're doing and how they see the future. So for us, being able to provide this immediate power battery that can do these AI workloads with a sustainability reduction is a huge benefit for these customers of achieving all the goals they're trying to do, which is maximum compute, maximum efficiency, and maximum sustainability.
Yeah, it absolutely is integral in this day and age, isn't it? So, lastly, I just kind of want to touch on what's next for ZincFive. So, as AI keeps pushing and pushing data centers towards faster, denser, and more power intensive designs, how do you see ZincFive's immediate power solutions evolving over the next generation?
Yeah, look, we have the Lego blocks, as I like to say. We have two battery formats. You can kind of see them in my background here. We have a mono block, and we have a cylindrical cell. Both of those carry this safety and sustainability and high power capability that's needed for the entire data center ecosystem, from battery backup to engine start to GPU workloads. So we've got the building blocks to build great things. The way the market goes is the way we're going to go. And so we're talking to customers day to day to see what they're building now and what they're building in the future. And the only conclusion I can give you today is what's called stratification. I think what we're going to see is the data center market is going to split up in many directions. And there's going to be very long tails of technology. So what we're deploying today will exist for the next 5 years in some of these facilities. But what the new facilities are going to deploy next year will be different. And it could be DC only, it could be high voltage, it could be medium voltage. We'll kind of see where that trajectory goes. But we're going to see the data center market kind of split up, get this stratification. And so you're going to see a diverse product portfolio, I think, from everybody in the industry to kind of meet the market where it is today, tomorrow, and 5 years down the road.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah.
And
We're
yeah,
both
for
excited
sure.
about that.
Yeah. So that is actually all for us today. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Perfect. Well, Ben, great questions. Great to converse with you. Wish you the best.